Hi, welcome everyone. Welcome to the OOPS Basic Concepts class. So here we are going to study about all the concepts of object-oriented programming. So this program is basically for all the students, the engineering students as well as the learning enthusiasts who have interest in coding and development. So this object oriented programming course would help you to understand the basic concepts of data binding, encapsulation, inheritance, and various other methods which are required for doing programming or coding, writing a clean and precise and clear code in order to derive the output. So these days, the object oriented programming is used for C, C++, Java, as well as Python for machine learning. So let us quickly understand the basic concepts of object-oriented programming. So these are the topics which I am going to cover. That is introduction to OOPS, objects, classes, benefits of using OOPS, data encapsulation, data abstraction, inheritance, and mapping. So let us first understand what is OOPS. OOPS stands for Object-Oriented Programming. By definition, it could be defined as a way of modularizing programs by creating partition memory area for both data and functions that can be used as templates for creating copies of such data on demand. Whenever we require, as you can see in the diagram, data is the heart of OOPS. So we divide the data in a structured and organized manner in the form of methods, which we can use later on to call methods in the form. So those methods would be called during when we are running the program. Alright, so this is OOPS. So next is your history and features. Then coming to the history, let us first of all understand why was OOPS invented. So object-oriented programming was invented to remove some flaws which were encountered in procedural approach. So there were several flaws like duplicacy was there, then data manipulation was happening, somebody was manipulating the data, somebody was playing around with the duplicacy of data, someone could have changed the data, or since there were large data sets, so it was very difficult to manage those data at that point in time. So that was the reason object oriented programming was created, so that if there is a gap or if there is a duplicacy of certain data, then at that time itself the data could be that particular piece of code could be taken and debugged. We do not need to verify or modify the whole data set. So this was one of the advantages of object oriented programming. So how does that functions? So OOPS functions, since data is a critical element as we have seen in that diagram of OOPS program development, and does not allow it to flow freely around the system. So it ties the data closely to functions that operates it. So it will be accessible only to those functions that operates that data. It will not be accessible to other parts of the code. The reason is data will be safe and protected from accidental modifications. By chance, if some code is being changed or manipulated due to some of the reasons, so data will remain protected in that particular case. And also the decomposition of a problem into a number of entities called objects, and then builds data and functions around those objects. So after history, let us see the data and the concepts. So what are the concepts of OOPS? As I've told you earlier, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction. These are the basic concepts, and the other two which you will learn with time will be dynamic binding and message passing. I'm not covering dynamic binding and message passing since those would require some basic understanding of these four concepts. Alright, then in the next slide, let us understand what is an object. So objects are basically the runtime entities in an object-oriented programming. Each object contains the data and the code to manipulate the data. When a program is executed, objects interact by sending messages to one another. Few examples of objects are person, place, table, data, or any item that program has to handle. So object could be any entity like fruits. Like fruits is the class, but object would be mango, apple, orange, and so on. So similarly, there could be user-defined data such as vector, time, and graph if we talk about 3D. Alright. Then for your real-time life scenario example, we can say customer and account are two objects which are interacting with each other for asking the balance of the account. So customer object may send a message to account object requesting the account for account balance to get the balance statement. Alright, which we do in our daily lives. Now, next topic is class. So what is a class and how do we declare it? The class is the entire set of data and code of an object which can be made a user-defined data type with the help of a class. In fact, objects are variables of type class. Class is thus a collection of objects of similar type. For example, mango, apple, oranges are member of class fruits. So mango, apple, orange are single entities called as objects which can be a combined entity in the form of class fruits. Okay. So we declare it as fruit space object or class space object, that is fruit space mango will create an object mango belonging to class fruit. Alright, I hope it is clear now. Now let us understand data encapsulation and abstraction. These are also one of the major units of data. Alright, of OOPS. So let us understand encapsulation first. So wrapping up of data and functions into a single unit, which is class, is known as data encapsulation. The insulation of data from direct access by the program is called data hiding or information hiding. Data is not accessible to the outside world. Only those functions that are wrapped in a class can have access to it. Alright. So to understand encapsulation, I would give you a basic example of WhatsApp. So I believe we all are using WhatsApp for various updates and for chatting platform. For chatting application it is. So for chatting purposes we are using it. So in case if a particular group is created and certain participants are added in it, so only those participants are liable to read that particular news of the group in which it is shared. Alright, so this is called data encapsulation. So what we are doing is we are sharing the pieces of data, we are wrapping up the data into a single unit, alright, into a single group in this case. So we are sharing that particular information with that piece of group. These days there are many groups created on Facebook for for every kind of work. In real-time application, if you talk about for the latest updates, or for cooking channels we have different applications, for e-commerce we have different applications, just to give you a basic idea. So these were the basic examples. Now talking about abstraction, then in abstraction the data just captures the essential features. It will not care about what all is being coded or what all is being done, how the data is handled in the background. What abstraction will done? Abstraction is defined as the act of representing essential features without including the background details. So this is also one of the major important concept of OOPS which you must understand. So coming to our next slide, we should go through the concepts of inheritance and polymorphism. So inheritance, what is inheritance? In real life scenario, if you will ask me what is inheritance, then it is the properties which we hire from our parents, or the things which are going on from generations to generations. Similarly, we if you have seen, we create a family tree. In most of the cases, people do create a family tree to make the children in the family understand who is lying on which branch, and the child falls on a lowest branch, right? So at the topmost branch of a tree there lies the grandparents, then we have the parents, and then at the lower section we have their children or the newborns. All right, so inheritance is the similar process. In OOPS we use classes as parent class as well as a child class. So a child class can acquire the properties of a parent class, but a parent class cannot acquire the properties or access to a child class. So we would declare it in a manner like the first class which is declared is a parent class, and the second class which is declared is a child class. So child class can have access to the properties and elements present in the parent class, but the parent class can have access to only its own features, properties and elements. It cannot access the features or properties of a child class. So by definition it refers to the process by which objects of one class acquires the properties of another class. All right. And what is polymorphism? So this was inheritance. Now polymorphism stands for one name with multiple forms. So it allows us to have more than one function with same name in a program. Also it allows the overloading of operators so that an operation can exhibit in different behaviors in different instances. So I would explain it to you with an example, like if I have declared one function as a multiplication function in which I want to get the result of two numbers. I would like to get the product of two numbers. So I have declared one function as multiply round brackets. So the properties declared or the function declared in multiplication would be c is equals to a into b if a and b are the two whole numbers, right? So I'm storing the product in variable c. Now I can use this function at so many instances with so many names through my class. Alright, so this is called polymorphism. We will learn it in the further chapters. This was just to give you the basic idea. Now let us understand why do we use OOPS. Why do we use all the data concepts of OOPS and how they are very beneficial and helpful to our current day programming. So firstly, inheritance helps to eliminate redundancy and extend the uses of existing classes. As I told you, there were chances in procedural languages, there were chances of duplicacy of data, which was very difficult to remove the data to check each line of code. Through inheritance, we are able to rectify that. Then next comes your program built from standard working modules and communicates with one another. So program is built nowadays with the standard modules and it communicates very easily, and it minimizes the need to start writing the code from scratch. The next is possible to have multiple instances of an object to coexist without any interference. As we have seen, this is through polymorphism. The next is data hiding helps programmer to build secure programs so cannot be invaded by code in other parts of program. So we can also hide a particular part of a code which is not being used in other part of a code so that it does not affect our whole program. Now, so these are the basic terminologies. You can have one word answers, or you can be asked to define the concepts or to define these terms. The next is it is easier to map objects in problem domain to those in the program. It is easier to partition the work in a project based on objects. Message passing techniques for communication between objects makes interface descriptions with the external system much simpler. Software complexity can be managed easily. So these were some strengths and advantages of using object-oriented programming. Hope you like the basic concepts of object-oriented programming, and we will meet soon. Thank you for watching the video. Please do like and subscribe the channel for more videos.